Imagine holding the power of 1,000 suns. The mutant we're talking about today possesses precisely that. Roberto da Costa, better known as Sunspot, is a mutant with the ability to absorb solar radiation. The son of a Brazilian millionaire, Roberto became the target of anti-mutant extremists until Charles Xavier rescued him. Eventually, he became part of Hellfire Club, the X-Force, and the X-Corps, aka the revived New Mutants. In this marvelous video, let's count down 12 insane hidden powers of Sunspot. How does the Eye of Heaven replenish this mutant's superpowers? How does it give him the powers akin to a Supernova Blast? Let's find out. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Solar absorption. Sunspot's main power is his ability to absorb solar radiation. The absorbed solar energy flows into him in the form of enhanced physical strength. The cells of a regular human body turn the energy given by food into a usable form of energy named adenosine triphosphate, or simply ATP. While Sunspot similarly metabolizes solar energy, the stored energy is released whenever he needs to boost the base level of his strength. This metabolized solar radiation can be redirected through a process named solar rechanneling. Sunspot's insane absorption of the sun's energy gives him the abilities of strength, flight, stamina, speed, durability, and well-rounded reflexes. His solar absorption ability also allows him to store energy for later use. That's awesome, considering that this is very handy when he finds his strength in battle worn out. All he has to do is tap into his stored energy reserves. Not only does utilizing this energy give him more power to sustain himself, but it also enhances his other skills, instantly giving him an upper hand over his opponents. Thermal updraft flight. As we mentioned, his solar radiation absorption gives him the ability to fly. While this is quite a common mutant ability, Sunspot doesn't employ traditional methods of superhero flying. Instead, he propels himself through the air, relying only on will. How does this work, you ask? The answer is his ability to generate thermal updrafts. Thermal updrafts are caused by the heating up of air. Warm air tends to move up, especially in areas that have been heated up by the sun. The upward moving draft of air allows Roberto to launch himself into flight and even hover in mid-air. Over time, he can impressively do this without leaving any traces of a heat trail. His thermal updraft flying lets him maneuver the wind currents with ease and agility, being able to fly up to speeds of 50 miles per hour. Given that this skill relies on his will, it needs his entire concentration and uninterrupted focus. In his overcharged state, Sunspot can reach speeds of up to 750 miles per hour. In this slightly crazed form, he quickly travels through space by going beyond the orbit of our planet. Supernova Blasts. One of Sunspot's prominent abilities is being able to project solar energy, but after artificial enhancements, a new power was given to him. The solar-powered mutant gained the ability to blast concussive energy. Sunspot did not possess this power from the beginning. Instead, the supervillain named Gideon subjected Roberto to countless experiments in an attempt to transform him into the next External. This storyline also revealed that Gideon had murdered Roberto's father, while also trying to turn him into an External. In all his experimentation, Gideon blasted Sunspot with massive amounts of solar radiation. In turn, it also increased Sunspot's solar energy absorption capacity by up to 3,000%. While this totally overloaded his system, the modified mutant found himself being able to fire concussive energy blasts that were made out of dark plasma. This proved to be a deadly addition to his arsenal, as the blasts held a force of over 20 tons. His concussive blasts have also been compared to the magnitude of Supernova Blasts, mostly in his overcharged state of being. Sunspot's Supernova Blasts are deadly bursts of energy that are powerful enough to wipe out an entire battlefield should he wish to do so. Energy absorption. We already know that Sunspot can convert absorbed solar radiation into usable energy to enhance his physical prowess. His body's way of energy conversion would determine how strong he would be in any fight. The mutant's sun-soaked body is also capable of energy absorption. This means that Roberto is able to absorb varying forms of energy than just solar radiation. This could be very helpful when he's in a tough spot, since he would only sometimes have sustained exposure to the sun. There have been instances when Sunspot absorbed the energy emitted by intense laser beams while being able to filter out its ill effects. In another impressive feat, he was able to cloak himself with the energy let out by Abomination. The Green Goliath had been transformed to let out abnormal amounts of deadly gamma radiation. Sunspot was able to reach out to these harmful rays and utilize the energy derived for his own benefit. Sunspot's ability to absorb energy from the most unlikely sources is less known. His unsuspecting opponent would never guess where the mutant got his strength from. Enhanced durability. With his solar radiation absorption also came superhuman durability. In the original storyline of the New Mutants, Roberto wasn't naturally blessed with superhuman invulnerability. In fact, his teammates would often have to remind him of this by saying, "Careful, Bobby, you're strong, not invulnerable." In the more recent run of the New Mutants, Roberto's powers were built on. We've seen the incredible damage his concussive blasts are capable of. Along with this, he suddenly seemed to become very durable, after which there have been instances of Roberto surviving the full impact of being run over by a bus and surviving a bomb exploding while it was attached to his body. Sunspot was shot point blank in the face with a lethally powered laser beam by an AIM scientist and beaten to a pulp by Smasher. He walked away unscathed and also showed no ill side effects of intergalactic travel. Many fans believe that this made his character less interesting. Sunspot possessed unique powers, but his vulnerability also made him shrewdly think of ways to save his own skin in any given fight. Roberto's infamous charm can also be used to get out of tricky predicaments. Dark solar energy protection. Like a few other mutants that possess powers related to the sun, we would have expected Roberto to be covered in a bright, fiery glow. Instead, Sunspot can reach a point of maximum solar power absorption, which turns him non-reflective black, while his eyes remain glowing white. This supercharged form allows him to optimize his solar energy absorption, which is a unique display of his manipulation of the sun's power. This is known as his solar form, or black form, in which he undergoes the corona effect. A corona is known as the outermost layer of a star's atmosphere, which consists of plasma. For Sunspot, this manifests as the air surrounding him creates little black globes that look like sunspots, which is how he got his name. Fans also believe that the little black dots look like what floats in our vision when we look directly at the sun for too long. After Gideon's experimentation, his capacity for absorption increased unnaturally, which made his supercharged solar form even more lethal than it was. Roberto's black form has been beautifully portrayed by artists in the comics. He is definitely impressive, if not intimidating to look at. Solar Flare. Another useful power Sunspot has in his arsenal is the ability to create blinding solar flares, also known as photokinesis, which is the ability to bend, manipulate, project, and shift light particles. Not only does this make for a fantastic light show, but it can be used to disorient enemies in a fight. Sunspot uses the absorbed solar energy stored in his body and transforms this into projectable light beams. He does this by rechanneling solar energy and instead blasts intense light waves at his targets. This isn't just limited to light beams, as he is known to manipulate EM waves as well. This power can deal a ton of damage, since Sunspot can blind or disorient his enemies, which buys him more time to find openings for attacks or even escape. It also gives him the power to flash burn his opponent's eyes away. The limit of his power isn't fully known, but we've seen instances in which Sunspot used his solar flares to negate the effects of the photon waves fired by Scientist Supreme of AIM. He's also used this power to rechannel a laser beam fired at him and blast it back with twice as much force. Regenerative healing factor. Sunspot possesses the regenerative healing factor and accelerated healing, which is not in the traditional sense. His healing factor is a lesser-known power, which consists of Sunspot, which uses absorbed solar energy to heal cuts and wounds. The way his body functions and utilizes solar radiation, the energy is able to metastasize to areas that are damaged. Remember that the extent of this power goes hand in hand with his previous vulnerabilities. Around the beginning of his storyline, Sunspot's body would take time to recover completely, unlike some other superhumans that heal almost instantly. If he weren't directly exposed to the sun's energy, his body would tap into stored energy reserves, which would leave him more exhausted than he was. The swiftness of his healing ability is directly correlated to how charged up he is. This also meant that his solar or black form allowed his body to heal wounds quicker than his normal state. It's said that over time and after the experiments, this ability was greatly enhanced. Now, his body can regenerate surprisingly fast and is also resilient to diseases, viruses, poisons, and toxins. The more energy absorbed, the more intense this ability becomes. It has yet to be fully known if his healing ability is capable of regenerating damaged organs or nerve endings. Fun fact, Sunspot's regenerative healing is supplemented by de-accelerated aging as well. His overall lifespan is extended thanks to his ability to draw power from the sun. He ages much slower than regular humans, a fact that is helped by his accelerated healing as well. Energy sensing. Roberto's powers aren't contained within himself. Especially after his altercations, his already superhuman reflexes were enhanced. He also has superhuman senses of sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste. Naturally, this ability is augmented by his solar energy absorption. He is also overly aware of his surroundings, and Sunspot possesses the ability to detect solar energy signatures. He can map out the location of any solar-related energy beings. This is an instrumental observation technique that allows him to decipher the presence of any and all solar-powered devices and even traps. Sunspot's energy sensing skill can also be a lethal stealth attack. We already know that all ambient light is drained from him in his solar form. In his non-reflective black state, Roberto could prowl in the dark corners, sensing the solar energy signatures emitted by his foes and taking them out one by one. This ability also protects him from other mutants that have similar solar-related powers. Temperature immunity. Sunspot is thermal proof. He has vast resilience to extreme temperatures, boiling and below freezing as well. This again is all thanks to his solar-based mutant powers. Naturally, with his pyrokinetic ability comes immunity to all kinds of earthly or cosmic fire and heat. Instead of damaging him in any way, the heat is metabolized by his mutant body and in turn used to supply him with more strength and enhanced power. This also included any attacks aimed at him. Sunspot is able to easily absorb the energy delivered by powerful laser beams, blasts of flame, and all acts of attempted arson. This ability extends to Sunspot being weatherproof as well. He's entirely unaffected by all weather conditions, as they don't hinder his functioning or fighting in any way. So if any missions require him to work in environments that would kill a regular human, it's a cakewalk for Roberto. While we've watched him walk straight through a wall of flames and come out unscathed, the question is whether he would be able to survive touching the surface of the sun or even molten magma. Solar empowerment. If it's a sunny day, Sunspot is a force not to be reckoned with. Exposure to sunlight not only gives him physical strength, but also enhances all his other superhuman powers. When his character was first introduced, Roberto was known to be extremely powerful under the sun and weak at night. Now he can absorb energy from stars and even the reflected solar light from the moon. He has learned how to harness energy from the stars, which also allows him to remain powered up during his intergalactic travels farther away from Earth's sun. We've always talked about how these internalized energies are used for various purposes. He can make use of the sun's luminosity, gravitational and magnetic fields, and raw nuclear energy as well. Being able to utilize all aspects of the sun's energy makes Sunspot a raw, unrestricted, and deadly powerhouse. There have been some instances where the solar energy of the sun and the stars have been minuscule. Sunspot realized that he was comparably more powerful in realms such as Asgard. Being nearly at par with actual gods is impressive. Self-sustenance. Sunspot's ability of solar empowerment is what he feeds off of. When Roberto is in his supercharged solar state, he can use his stored energies to sustain himself. He doesn't need any means of human sustenance, such as food and water. Since he is entirely relying on his solar charge to keep him alive, Sunspot can let go of all human bodily requirements with pure solar energy flowing through his veins. He doesn't even need to sleep. He also is in no need of any aid or equipment when he's traveling through space. His solar-powered body is more than capable of handling extreme environmental conditions. This adds to his invulnerability, making him a deadly foe to whoever dares cross his path. Sunspot can skillfully defend himself in a fight, if not completely obliterate his opponents, stopping only when all of them have been burned to the ground. Marvelous verdict. Roberto da Costa is also known to be a cunning, charming, and equally arrogant businessman. Apart from all his superhuman abilities, his cunning, logical mastermind, unmatched charm, and his effortless confidence led him to nearly take over AIM. His underwhelming death in the film X-Men: Days of Future Past was disappointing. Given how powerful his mutant abilities are shown to be in the comics, many believe he would have been able to hold his own against the Sentinels. After all, he's also a genius, billionaire, playboy, and philanthropist. Sound familiar? And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.